Hello and welcome to i-nastava. This is English language lesson for the third grade of high school. Today's topic is Holocaust Remembrance Day. My name is Rejhana Nuhanović Tadijan and I'm going to be your teacher for today's lesson. Today you're going to summarize written and spoken text and analyze different photos. Before we start, please prepare your notebooks, pen or pencil, internet access, and a QR code reader. At the beginning of today's lesson, we'll activate your previous knowledge about the Holocaust. First, copy this chart into your notebooks and then complete the first two columns. In the first one, try to recall anything you already know about the Holocaust, and in the second one, something you'd like to explore some more. Leave the third column empty for now. Now, imagine that you have been told that you need to leave your home. You don't know where you're going or when you'll be back. You have 1 hour to pack your suitcase, a small one, and that is all that you are allowed to take. What would it be? Would you take photos or books, some toys or clothes, some dear memory? Please pause the lesson now and write down the items you would choose. And remember that they must fit into your small suitcase. And now you can compare. Here are some items found with the Jewish children after fleeing Poland. Please type in the link bit.ly BW children and choose one photo and read the story about that particular item. How do you feel? And how do you think that person was feeling when they had to pack and flee? Why do you think they chose that particular item to bring? Maybe the most famous teenager from the Holocaust period is Anne Frank. I'm sure you know a thing or two about her, and you have most likely already read her diary. And now I'd like you to write down everything you can recall about her. While doing that, you can use this chart to help you. Pause this lesson, copy the chart, and complete it with all the information you already know, without looking anything up online. Now I'd like you to pause the lesson and watch this video. The link is bit.ly AF pictures, and it shows her life using only photos. There is no text. I'd like you to watch it carefully and see if you can complete your notes with some more information. And here is the final video about her, who was Anne Frank. Please pause this lesson, watch the video, the link is Who Was AF, and after watching it, try to complete your chart with the missing information. Your next activity is to unscramble Anne's story. There are images from the video, and your task is to put them in the correct order as they happened in the video and in her life. Please follow this link bit.ly story AF and try to solve this task. Maybe watching the video again might help. As you already know, Anne and her family were hiding in a secret annex of an office building, and they, of course, had to be invisible during that time. How do you think their days looked like? I'd like you to pause this lesson, type in the link bit.ly annex AF, watch the video, and then answer these 5 questions. Now imagine you are in her shoes, that you are in hiding in the same secret annex, and it is a typical day there. What can you see? What can you smell or hear? Close your eyes and try to relive one of her days in the annex using the information you have and your imagination. And then complete this chart for these 5 senses. Do you recognize people in these photos? Do they look familiar? And how are they connected to the Holocaust? This is Oskar Schindler, and this is Irena Sandler. Do you know who they are? They are probably some of the most famous people who belong to this group of the righteous among the nations. Do you know who actually the righteous among the nations are? When you type in the link bit.ly about RAN, you can find out more about them, and while reading, you should find answers to these 2 questions. The first one, who were they? And the second one, you can list all the ways they helped. So pause this video now, read the text, and find the answers to these 2 questions. And now we will focus on their individual personal stories. When you type in this link bit.ly story RAN, you can search either the Righteous Among the Nations database by countries, or you can go through Featured Stories section. Then you choose one story you like or you are drawn to and summarize it. You should mention the name of the person, where it happened, how these people helped, and who they rescued. Now, please pause this video and read these 8 questions or topics and record your comment. Your comment should be about 1.5 to 2 minutes long, and you can make notes about what you'd like to say. While recording, please don't read from the notes. Use them just as a reminder and some help. In this section of today's lesson, we'll focus on propaganda. First, I'd like you to pause this video and try to think about these 3 questions. What is propaganda? How important was it during Nazi control? And how much impact do you think it had? Propaganda is information, often misleading, one-sided, or false, that is used to promote a political cause or point of view. As Hitler and the Nazis rose to power, propaganda was employed as a key tool of persuasion. In order to spread their ideology through propaganda, the Nazis used multiple mediums, including speeches, rallies, newspapers, posters, radio, and so on. The Nazis thought deeply about the power propaganda would play in their rise and maintenance. Thinking actively about the power of propaganda, in 1933, Hitler even established a Reich Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda in order to ensure the systematic dissemination of Nazi ideology to the population. Some propaganda used positive images to glorify the Nazi figures and the government's action, and other propaganda was negative, stirring up feelings of fear and loathing by portraying those that the regime considered to be enemies as a national threat, as dangerous individuals, and as Untermenschen, inferior people. The Nazis distributed propaganda across all sectors of society, from anti-Semitic films and museum exhibitions to children's coloring books. Do you know how to analyze the propaganda sources and the message they are trying to convey? These are some of the questions you need to consider when analyzing them. What is this source depicting? Who is the intended audience? And what ideas or information is the source conveying to its audience? Next, you'll see some photos of propaganda materials used during the Nazi control of Europe, and here story behind it. And while looking at them carefully, please have in mind these three questions. The photo on the left shows a cover of the anti-Semitic children's book Der Giftpilz, or The Poisonous Mushroom, from year 1938. And it talks about how, just as it is difficult to tell a poisonous mushroom from the edible mushroom, it is difficult to tell a Jew from a non-Jew. On the right, there is a page from that book, and it says, "The Jewish nose is crooked at its tip, and it looks like the number 6. This drawing on the left was created by a young girl, Gerda, in one of her school textbooks, and it shows the infamous Nuremberg laws explaining how to define if a person is a Jew. On the right, there is a mathematics exercise from a Nazi school textbook discriminating against disabled people. The exercise is titled, "What is the cost of care of the hereditary sick?" The exercise aimed to show school children in Nazi Germany that disabled people were actually a financial burden on the state. The image on the left is from a children's book, and it shows a Jew with stereotypical features trying to trick a woman into buying new dress material. As a result of this, many children used stereotypical drawings, such as this one on the right, showing a Jew under the title Etsy, and a caption reads, "Made himself a good deal again," referring to the anti-Semitic story that Jews conducted dishonest business. These are images of two posters from 1937 and 38 used to advertise exhibitions of degenerate art and music. They are entitled The Eternal Jew on the right and Degenerate Music on the left, intended to evidence how the music not approved by the Nazis, such as jazz or music by Jews or black artists, was corrupt. On the left, there is a page of a coloring book for young children about the Hitler Youth, produced in Germany in 1930s. And on the right, there is a children's game produced also in Nazi Germany, and the blocks can either be arranged to spell out Hitler or can be arranged to form a swastika. I am sure you can find some propaganda around you today as well. Your task is to choose one example of Nazi propaganda you've just seen and one of contemporary from newspapers, commercials, Facebook ads, books, or similar. You should analyze both examples using the three questions and compare and contrast them. How are they similar and how are they different? Then use an infographic or a digital poster to show your examples and your analysis. And also please include your opinion on how important you think propaganda is. During the Hitler's dictatorship, governments at every level adopted hundreds of laws that increasingly restricted the civil and human rights of the Jews in Germany. You will watch a video, and your task is to decide which laws are real and which are made up. Why do you think these laws were established, and which surprised you the most? It is very important to get to know how Jewish life before the war used to be like. You can find a collection of pre-war photos when you type in this link, bit.ly pre-war life, and you should choose one photo from the collection, and it must contain people, and it must be taken prior to Nazi invasion. You can filter the photos and just type in pre-war in the search bar. Next, you should analyze the photo. First, scan it and see what you notice first in that photo and what type is it, and is there a caption. Then list everything you see in the photo and then try to think about it in more depth. What do you think? Who took it? Where? When? And why? In that way, you might get a better idea of the situation of that time. Next, go through your own photo album and try to find a similar photo of the one you chose. It can be a photo of you, your friends, or your family. You can use photos on social media or your regular photo albums. And then you should write an essay of 150 to 200 words about your chosen photos. The essay should consist of 3 paragraphs. In the first one, you should briefly describe both photos, say why you chose them, and name the similarities and differences of life in both photos. In the second paragraph, you list evidence which suggests that life was normal or ordinary for the Jews prior to the German occupation. And in the last one, you write about what the photos tell you about Jewish life in Europe before the Second World War. And this is your final activity for today. Your friend from the UK, Sarah, is researching the Holocaust period in Eastern Europe as a school assignment. She has come across a website with personal stories of the Jewish people in Osijek, but she has problems understanding them since they are in Croatian. So she asks you for help. You should watch 2 videos of your choice and retell their stories so that she can use them in her paper. You should record a voice message of about 2 minutes. The link to the stories is bit.ly museum PS, and there is also a code you can scan. Do you remember this chart from the beginning of the lesson? Now it's time to complete the last column. You should write down everything you learned today. It can be some dates, people, stories, or any interesting facts that you remembered. This is the end of the lesson. Until some other time, bye bye.